Ok, amigos y amigas, yo soy Mario Lino. Buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches en cualquier parte del mundo que estén ustedes sintonizándonos a nosotros a través de Radio La Mexicanísima. Bienvenidos a esta charla, a esta conversación que vamos a tener con Jan Briscoe, el honorable Jan Briscoe, que anda corriendo por el escaño de los Estados Unidos, el Congreso de los Estados Unidos. Adelante, Jan.
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm fine too.
We're both good. Two good people.
Yes. Okay, Jan, cuéntanos en tu agenda qué encierra, what's the idea, what's the concept of your project for the Latinos?
The first and most important thing, Mario, is I'm the best representative to represent the new 42nd District. This district was cobbled together from several other districts to be one long, skinny district along the Long Beach Freeway. It goes from Long Beach to Lakewood to Signal Hill, Bellflower, Downey, Bell Gardens, Huntington Park, Cudahy, and Maywood. It's a long, skinny city, and only one person can represent all those people. And I'm the best person to represent all of the people living in my 42nd Congressional District. I'm running to be the representative for all interests, for all people. I won the primary against all odds. People were amazed. The newspapers were astounded. There were 6 Democrats, 1 Republican, and 1 Green candidate running, and now we have the final 2. I'm running because I'll represent the district better than the opponent that I have running against me. I've been married for 47 years. I go to church every Sunday. I have children, and soon-to-be grandchildren. I represent the district and the things this district stands for. The 42nd Congressional District is only 16% Republican and 55% Democrat voters. It's 50% Hispanic. It's a very unique and special district in this state, and I will represent it to the best of my abilities, and those abilities are very, very good. What does all that mean? The things that are important to this community are important to me. There are 3 things I'm running to work on as a priority. The first and foremost, and it's in my candidate statement, you can read it, is the prices are too damn high. The prices in this state and this country are too damn high. And I use that word because we cannot afford to live with a 10% inflation rate. And that's what we have now. Thanks to the Congress that's leaving and the president and the budgets they're spending, everything's going up 10% per year. This is horrible. It's why the gas is almost $7 a gallon. Are you kidding me? The Dollar Tree is now the $1.25 store. People's rents are up through the roof. Housing prices are up 28% plus. The sad thing is that the voters and residents of the 42nd Congressional District are going to have their children be tenants for the rest of their life. I'm running to represent the interests of this district.
Muy bien, Jan, muy bien. Nosotros los hispanos,
Sí,
¿le puedes traducir?
mi familia está
Okay. Nosotros los hispanos estamos batallando mucho en el sistema económico. Hoy en la mañana yo en lo personal salí de shopping, me fui a la tienda a comprar, a las tiendas donde siempre seguí, una cabeza de lechugas $2.99. ¿Qué piensas hacer tú por eso?
We, the Hispanics, are really struggling, especially when you go grocery shopping. For example, I myself went grocery shopping this morning and a head of lettuce was $2.99. What are you ready to do as a potential congressional member to help us, the Mexican Hispanic community?
Well, I'm part Mexican. Mi tatabuela came across the border from Baja California into California, married into a family in Escondido, and the rest is history. Her daughter married the mayor of Compton, California. Mexican experience today, which is the predominant community in my district, is being devastated. Most of the families in my district are hardworking, blue-collar, hourly working people. With the prices going up the way they are, they can hardly afford to feed their family. What I will do in Congress to stop this is to stop the insane spending, that we don't have the money we print up more money is what happens. It's obvious. If you don't have enough money, you turn on the printing press, and now there's more dollar bills flooding the system, and everything goes up in price. Only our wages don't. How many people in the viewing range of this show are going to get a 10% pay raise this year? Oh, nobody. You're lucky if you get 3 or 4%. It's crummy. If you don't get a 10% pay raise, you're out of luck. you're behind the 8 ball. You don't have enough money to pay for the groceries and the gas at $7 a gallon. So I'm going to stop the federal government spending on things that aren't important to my district and the people that live in the 42nd Congressional District.
¿Qué te iba a decir? Ya una pregunta más. Nosotros los hispanos somos muy religiosos. Tenemos buenos principios. Yo en lo personal quiero que mis nietos y mis hijos sigan yendo a una escuela decente, que les estén educando de la manera correcta. No tratar de implementar el concepto que están ahorita, el famoso CTR. Nosotros los hispanos nos interesa mucho que nos represente una persona que sea serio, que se dedique a la educación, que se enfoque en los principios de la familia. That's the reason we go to church every day, so we can refresh our memories, right?
Yes.
So we, the Hispanic community, are pretty conservative and very religious for the most part. We believe in moral, high values. We believe in conservative values, values that are important to us, not only for ourselves, but from our kids and our children. We want to make sure that our students are attending schools that are well represented with our values at the core. What are you going to do as far as CRT and those values that are being implemented or pushed on our kids that we do not support? What are you ready to do to ensure that our values are always at the top of the priority and that they're implemented when it comes to schools for our kids?
That's a great question. I'm an elected school board trustee by the people, for the people, with the people for 4 terms, 16 years of volunteer service, helping with 4 other people to run a school district with 8,000 children, 1,000 employees, 14 school sites. I live with these issues every single day. I'm proud to say my district has fixed the sex ed problem. I won't go into the details here except to say we had some big problems with our sex ed curriculum that we bought off the shelf from a printer in Sacramento. So we've gone through and fixed our sex ed curriculum to be rigorous and important. And the most important thing we teach everywhere is abstinence, don't do it. There's other things we instruct. I won't go into those here unless you're interested later. The CRT question came up, and I'd like to tell everybody in the viewing land, CRT stands for Critical Race Theory. Now, some people say critical race theory. CRT is a exotic concept taught in graduate school miles away from the local school district, which is bunk. The fundamental idea of CRT, critical race theory, is that everybody's a racist and a bigot, and everything in this country is horrible and terrible because of past racial events and things that went on. So my opinion about critical race theory is, yes, we should be well aware of race and the role it plays. As a side note, I need to share with you, we have a constitution with amendments in this country, and the 13th and the 14th Amendment are clear. There is no discrimination ever based on race, which is Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Negroid. There's 3 races, which is based on color. The Constitution says you cannot discriminate on the basis of color of your skin, and then 3, you cannot discriminate based on where you come from, what country, nor can you discriminate based on ethnicity. I agree with all of those, and I think we should enforce all of them, and we're doing a great job as a country these days in that matter. No discrimination based on any of those 4 items, and I will work for continued enforcement of non-discrimination based on race. Critical race theory thinks that everything is a problem anyway because of race. And I don't agree with that. This is the best country on the face of the earth, as evidenced by the millions of people that do come here and want to come here. And I'm proud to be a part of this country. I'm proud to be, my mother's parents were both immigrants. I come from an immigrant family. She did not speak English until she was 4 years old. They just threw her into kindergarten. Kind of astounding. Just threw her in and she had to learn how to speak English. Well, that happens to a lot of families.
Yeah, okay, John. Una pregunta nomás para educar un poquito a la gente, ¿no? ¿Qué tan cierto es de que Martin Luther King era republicano? ¿Es cierto? ¿Es cierto o no?
Just to educate the public a little bit, what do you know about, Martin Luther King really being a Republican? Is that true or not? Do you know anything about that?
Martin Luther King was a Republican and an Eagle Scout. Frederick Douglass was a Republican. These great leaders of the African American community were Republicans because they would never register with the slave party or the Jim Crow party, separate and not equal. I'm proud to call myself a Republican in the lineage of those great leaders.
Muy bien.
John.
Eso es, yo quería aclarar eso porque en verdad el otro día lo oí y yo no lo creía, porque fue un líder completamente que independiente, no era ni para allá ni para acá, nada. Él se enfocaba una guía, pero en general, no para morenos o no para blancos, sino que él se enfocaba en ayudar a toda la comunidad.
It's true. I heard this comment and I wanted to really understand if it was true, because based on his history and everything he paved the way for, it seemed to me that his main concern was to serve people, and so there was no really way of telling whether he was a right or a left side, but I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, there's a bit more detail to that, I'm sorry to say. The Lyndon Baines Johnson president policy of war on poverty created incentives for families to not be married, not have a mommy and a daddy in the house, to have children with not two parents around, and the result was a huge increase of family disintegration in the African American community. And today, it's a dysfunction. 70+% of all black babies are born without an identified father on the birth certificate. And this is a residual from the Democrat presidency of Lyndon Johnson, creating a welfare society that encouraged behavior that's harmful for children. I'm the education candidate for U.S. Congress. I've served 16 years setting policy, spending budgets, and educating 8,000 children a year. I'm very sensitive to this, and whatever is not good for children is not good in my book. And the dysfunction of the family is not good. Children need a mommy and a daddy if it's possible, and if the mommy and daddy can't live with each other, the mommy and daddy should be around for the child in any case to help raise them.
Thank you, John, for clarifying that.
Ahora, ¿usted le puede hacer una pregunta, por favor?
Claro que sí. What are your top 3 issues that you are running for? We'd like to understand what are those 3 reasons that are driving your platform. I understand one of them is inflation, and you spoke a little bit about it, but we want to understand a little bit more of your other 2 issues. Other than inflation, what are your other 2 top priorities as a congressman?
I have to say it again, the inflation is killing our families. It will be, starving them if we're not careful. The second priority that I'm focusing on that I believe is important to the 42nd Congressional District is parent choice, or grandparent choice, or guardian choice for the children. It's the job and role of parents to raise their children. And we need to let them raise their children and educate their children wherever they would like. The law says they all have to go to school. The law doesn't say where they have to go to school. And I say yes to private school. Absolutely yes to parochial schools. I say yes to homeschooling. And I say yes to charter schooling. If the parents want to take their children to a school, it's not their neighborhood school down the street because the kids are all failing there due to the public school district that runs it, they can go to any school district they want. And I use this example. If you are a homeless family living in your car or living in a motel, of which there are a lot, and you have a child, let's say in 5th grade, where can that child go to school? You're living in a hotel, you're living in a car that's driving around. Where does that child go to school? I've had many people tell me, oh, well, they have to go to the school that's closest to their car. I don't know. It's a good question because the answer is that child can go to any school they want. That child can go to Beverly Hills High School, the best funded school in the state of California. Well, middle school, the best funded school. That child can go to any school they want if they're homeless. They could walk into the door of the district office and say, we're homeless, we live in our car out in front, and we want our child enrolled in this, the best funded school in the state of California, and they must take the child. If homeless children go to any school they want, then certainly children living in their neighborhood can have whatever teacher they request, can go to whatever school and district they want to go to, and should be able to go to whatever school district they'd like to. So that's the second, parent choice. Third is family safety. Oh, this is so important. And the first piece of family safety is don't defund the police. What a stupid idea. Don't defund the police. It's an idiot idea to defund the police. Our neighborhoods are crawling with crime. They have this new idiot law where if you steal under $900, they're not going to prosecute you in court. The store owner has to take the criminal to small claims court to get their money back, and nobody can afford to do that. So you have people stealing so much in San Francisco, CVS and Walgreens are closing half their stores in San Francisco. This is a crime wave of unprecedented growth and impact on my 42nd Congressional District, on all of you in listening and viewing land. So don't defund the police, and along with that, we must have a solution to homelessness, and I have a proposal. Do we have
Okay.
time to talk about it, or I can talk about it later?
John, ¿a qué se debe esta ola de crimen? Se debe exactamente a que los políticos han apoyado y los prosecutors no ejecutan las leyes como ya están puestas, sino que les están dando luz verde para que sigan y sigan y sigan. Esto se debe a un daño político, como comenzabas hace rato de Lyndon B. Johnson. Son problemas creados por ellos mismos. Que si toca suerte y te toca a ti ganar en el Congreso, tú vas a ayudarnos a recuperar este tiempo que se ha perdido para que se mejore la situación y las comunidades tengamos una vida segura.
John, do you believe that these crime waves have to do with the policies that have been implemented by politicians, aside from the fact that prosecutors to some degree have been allowed to kind of give the green light to put, vandals and people that should not be on the streets out on the street again? Is that part of what it is? And if so, as a congressman, what are you ready to do to help our communities to avoid those kind of policies that have resulted in a high crime rate that we're experiencing right now? Or what do you think this wave has come as an effort from?
First of all, privacy and security of our home. And I heard you say security at the end is very important. We live in communities with bars on all the windows. Do we like living in a prison in our house? Well, we have to, because it's unsafe to not have a bar on our window to keep the bad people out when we're not there, or the bad people out when we are there. And even when we are there, it doesn't stop the crime. A plumber I use to help me take care of plumbing issues with my business had his giant truck parked next to his home, a foot away from his window, and they robbed everything out of it at night, all of his tools and everything. And he had bars on his windows, but it didn't help his truck, which was securely locked. So the point is this. The prosecutors, Gascon as an example. Oh, by the way, do you know where Gascon lives? He lives in Naples, Long Beach, as far away from the bars on all the windows and the crime areas that the rest of us have to live in. The problem is the 3 strikes and you're out law was, unfortunately, it was worked on in a way that had a big impact on our inner city communities, but it still stopped crime. People thought to themselves, oh, let's see, if I do this again, I might go to jail for a long time. So now we have a 3 strikes and you're out law that's not being enforced or used. We have prosecutors who aren't prosecuting people, turning people away. We have courts in Riverside County, not my district, but still a problem, where there's so few judges now, they turned away 200 people, criminals, felony criminals, and they just released them because they couldn't prosecute and try their cases. The criminal justice system is a mess, and it will be fixed. It'll be fixed with money, and that's what Congress can do. So I'm against spending money on things that don't help my community in the 42nd Congressional District, but I am in favor of things that do help. And having enough courts to try people with a fair jury trial is important. Having a prosecutor who will prosecute and go after criminals is very important to me. And those are things I'll work on. But there has to be some money. There's not enough money to pay for all the courts that we need. And as a result, cases get dropped and ignored.
Ok, John, en el 42 distrito que tú vas a representar, hopefully que tú seas electo, hay un porcentaje de hispanos, como, ¿qué número tú le pondrías?
What do you think the percentage of Hispanics in the 42nd district is?
Well, I know the exact number. Thank you for asking. The number of people in the 42nd district of Hispanic designation is 50%, 1 out of every 2 people. And in the city of Huntington Park, Bell Gardens, Cudahy, and Maywood, that number goes up to 90+%. One of those cities has 95% Hispanic population in it. So these issues of inflation, parent choice, don't defund the police are very important to especially my northern tier in the 42nd Congressional District up to Cudahy and Maywood, where the crime is such a problem, where the schools are not very good, and where inflation really impacts my families.
So, a todos ellos, a todos este montón de hispanos, que son millones de hispanos, en 1969 éramos bien poquitos, y de repente se vino una onda y se llenó de raza. Ya somos demasiados, ya tenemos poder. ¿Qué es exactamente lo que John Briscoe le ofrece a esa comunidad hispana? Hablando económicamente, hablando de escuelas, hablando de principios morales Y hablando de educación, que es tu slogan.
So in 1969, we definitely saw, it was a small minority of Hispanics in our area, and then we saw a huge wave. We have now become a pretty majority, actually, of your voters, like you've said. And so, given that, in that context, what do you offer specifically the Hispanic community, not only from an economic place, but also from a value place, from an educational place? Why do you think Hispanics need to get out there and vote for you?
I am the person that the Hispanic community can and will be. I'm well educated. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm active in the community. I devote and give back my trustee role. I'm an assistant scoutmaster in a Boy Scout troop. I'm a member of the Rotary Club and the Lions Club, which are community organizations that help children across all cities. I represent the give back, the donation, the help part of the community. Our Hispanic community, as a giant, huge name for 50% of the 42nd Congressional District, are focused on earning enough money to pay their rent or their mortgage, having enough money to pay for $7 a gallon gas, and feed their children, and go to church, and be a part of their family. It's a much smaller world than Rotary and Optimist and running for office. But I represent the aspirations and where the children of those hardworking mothers and fathers will be. Those children will be members and running this community. At 50% of the district, they are the district in 10 years and 15 years when they graduate and they go to college and they come back out to work in the community. I'm here now to start that process, and I represent those aspirations and those people the best.
John Briscoe, the family man, el hombre de la familia. Su slogan de él dice, es uno de nosotros. Pues John Briscoe es uno del montón de nosotros.
Claro que sí.
Y él quiere representarnos a todos nosotros, así que le vamos a pedir a John Briscoe que invite a la gente. ¿Tienes algún evento donde vas a hacer campaña aquí cerquitas, donde te pueden ir a conocer, platicar contigo, hacerte preguntas en algún lugar por aquí cerca de la vecindad?
If the community wants to reach out to you and get to know you a little bit better, contact you, how can they do that? Is there a meet and greet coming up, or a phone number, something that you can share with them where they can call you directly and ask you questions?
Oh, facile. It's easy. I'll give you my personal cell phone number. Yes, my cell phone number, going right to my cell phone. Blow up that cell phone with phone calls if you'd like. I'll answer whatever I can, the best I can for you. My cell phone number, my personal cell phone number is 714-658-2245. Again, 714-658-2245. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. My email is very easy. It's John, John, at johnbriscoe.us. John, B as in boy, RISCOE.us. John at johnbriscoe.us is my email. Any questions you have, please email me, text me, tweet to me, Facebook response to me, whatever I can do. I'd love to hear from you. I am the best representative of the families and the residents of the 42nd Congressional District.
I'm going to go ahead and add that if you call John and you leave him a message and it's in Spanish, there will be a translator that will translate that message. We will make sure that he understands the question, and we will provide an answer back to you in Spanish. A nuestra comunidad, si tienen alguna pregunta para John y es en español, use el número de teléfono y de alguna manera le vamos a traducir la pregunta y le vamos a poner una respuesta en español para que la comunidad entienda y tenga acceso a su congresista.
Eso es muy importante,
Claro,
muy
sí.
importante, porque lo más se hacen importantes, ellos llegan allá y lo ignoran a la gente.
Cierto.
El número en español, por favor.
I was telling the community that if they ask you a
Yes,
question,
but no. What's the number in Spanish?
let me,
Pues, número, es español.
give me your number one more time so I can write it down.
714. It's 714-658-2245.
658-2245.
Yes.
Ok, número otra vez es 714-658-2245. 2245. Una vez más, su número de celular es 714-658-2245.
Perfecto, John.
Gracias. Thank you.
Una pregunta acá, un servidor, me imagino que estás corriendo para el Congreso del Distrito 42. ¿Por qué? Porque miraste que el país va para abajo o andas buscando una fuente de poder, o en realidad, porque no lo noto como político 100% como los demás. Este señor está más franco, habla the real thing, John is the real deal. So my question is, ¿hay algo en él que se lanzó para este 42 distrito por algún poder, o porque quiere ser político, o en verdad quiere ayudar a nuestra comunidad?
So the feeling that I get from you, John, is that you're the real deal. It doesn't seem to me that you come across like your typical politician. It seems to me that your motivation was either because you saw that our country's going downhill and you want to make an impact, or are you seeking power? What is it that really motivated? Because what I get from you is that you really care and that you really want to make a difference in our community. Is that truly how you feel? Is that what motivated you?
My tie I have on is red and blue both. It's red and blue. I don't represent one side or the other. Now and today, before the election and after the election, I will represent everybody in this district for the needs of this district. I plan to have a field office in Huntington Park. I plan to have a field office in Long Beach. I plan to have the main office in Washington, D.C. to serve the people in this community. The things that people need a congressman for are immigration, passport, family matters. A government agency is not responding to them, and they need help now. They go into their field office, and they bring that to the attention of my staff, and we will be on that immediately. These are nuts and bolts things. That's who I represent. That's who you want to represent you in Congress. And it's not just perched back in Washington, D.C. in a big meeting room. These are services that the community members need in the community of Cudahy and Maywood and Huntington Park and Bell and Bell Gardens and so on. And I'll be able to provide that service when you need it and as fast as I possibly can.
Muy importante eso, muy importante, porque la gente ahorita hay mucho crimen. Es más, el crimen está más organizado que nosotros.
It's true.
Ellos nos dan a nosotros.
You're right. There's a lot of crime, definitely, and we see that it's very organized, so representation is really critical right now.
Ok, una preguntita de ti. ¿No traes alguna apunte por ahí, por favor?
Well, I know that John has told us a little bit about his priorities. He's told us about the issues, the demographics. You shared a little bit about your family. So tell me, you said you have one child and you're soon to be a grandparent?
Oh, yes.
Okay, tell us
I'm
a
going
little
to be
bit
an
about that.
abuelo.
Oh, no.
Well, the first time. I know I look too young to be an abuelo, but way too young. Yes. No, my son graduated from college, and then he moved away as far away from us as he could on the face of the earth to China, of all places, where he taught English for 5 years. While he was there, he met the most wonderful woman, and they got married. And now they're back. They've lived back here for 4 years, and they're going to have a baby in November. And it's so exciting. And she is a Chinese national, so she brings to my family experience a whole giant array of Chinese things that I've never been familiar with. In China, people don't eat lettuce and raw carrot sticks and raw broccoli and raw celery because the food chain isn't as clean as ours, as sanitary and sterile as ours is. So for her coming here, gnawing on a broccoli tree like our kids do in school and love it, gnawing on a piece of broccoli is bizarre to her, and she still hasn't come to that point. But she has learned how to eat lettuce, which sounds incredible, but it is. They just don't eat that kind of food in China. There's one small, tiny example of acculturation, and we've certainly learned a lot from her. How to eat with chopsticks is one. I've been to China many times to visit my son, and we're very proud to have a family that includes many different cultural backgrounds. My Mexican background, my mom's immigrant background, and now the Chinese background. And a Chinese grandson coming up.
I love it. Now tell me about your wife. I know you've been married. How many years have you been married?
Oh, we got married when we were 5 years old. 47 years we've been married. Well,
wow.
A little bit later than 5 years old. But we've been married for 47 years. And it's marriage is kind of like being elected to a Congress role. We have to figure out how to get along with each other. One person, I don't boss my wife around, and she certainly doesn't boss me around. We own a small business together for 22 years, 23 years now, property management. And so we've had to work together, literally, in our own business for over 2 decades, 20 plus years, to run a business, serve our clients, keep our customers. I have 4 employees. I've had to make payroll every single week for all those years, and I'm proud to say I have. And yes, I gave all my employees more than a 10% raise this year, because if I didn't, they would be short-cheated. They would be cheated. And I don't cheat my employees, and I don't cheat anybody. So my wife and I have been together for 47 years. We love each other dearly. We plan to continue until death do us part. And we hope that's a long ways away.
Well, and I do have to say I've had the pleasure to meeting both of you. In fact, we go to church together, so it is always pleasant to be around your family. It truly is a wonderful family.
Una pregunta de una persona que está reportando a través de Facebook. El matrimonio para ti, Jan, el matrimonio, ¿qué significa para ti?
We have a question from Facebook.
Great.
What does marriage mean to you? What does it represent to you, marriage?
Marriage is a contract, first and foremost in this country. A contract between 2 people. A contract is an agreement to agree. A legal contract in this country, Contract Law 101 from high school, is 1, it must have a legal purpose. Yes, 2 people together is legal. 2, you must have the capacity to be married. That would be 18 years or older. 3, there must be consideration exchange, the rings. And then 4, you have to have, there's a 4th one, agreement to agree. And that's what the wedding ceremony is. So a marriage is a contract, an agreement to agree between 2 people. And our typical marriage, even today, is in a church or a setting with the community watching it. And those people watching it are important because they're the witnesses to the marriage. They are the people sanctifying the marriage and witnessing it, because marriages don't have a contract that's in writing. You may not know this, but a promise is a promise, and a contract, whether it's written or not, is a valid promise. It's more difficult to enforce a verbal promise, but a marriage is a verbal promise. There's no contract in most marriages, so a marriage is a contract between 2 people that they have and keep with each other. So if this question is leading to, if you have a girl or a boy or a girl boy or whatever.
Correct. I wanted to go there.
You want to go there? Well, I don't. No, it's fine. It's a contract. It's a contract, and if you want to make that contract, that's your contract in your business, under contract law, in my mind. The difficulty is that if you make that contract, is everybody else required to agree to it? And that's a decision by the courts, and the courts have weighed in on it. The Supreme Court has weighed on it. They said a marriage between 2 people, regardless of their sexual preference, their sexual gender, their sexual choice, or their actual gender, the contract's a contract and they can be married. They have also said that everybody else doesn't have to agree with that definition of marriage and doesn't have to make a cake for their wedding, doesn't have to design a website for them. So the status today is what I just described. A marriage is a contract, an agreement between 2 people to be together. Because when you're unmarried, and by the way, you have to get a license from the city to be officially married. When you're unmarried, you have to abrogate, you have to delete that contract, and that's breaking a contract, and get rid of the contract. That's a divorce. Now in California, we have no-fault divorce where you can just go down and file papers. But the marriage is a contract, and when you're not married, the contract gets dissolved. That's my view of marriage, and my view of the tough question about boy, girl, man, woman, and man and woman, and so on, is fundamentally it's a contract. If 2 people want a contract and agree to be with each other forever or for a long time, that's their business. Does everybody else have to agree to it? The court says no, that's other people's business.
Qué bueno, yo quería saber eso porque mucha gente pregunta.
Yes.
Mucha gente pregunta, ¿qué opinas de esto? ¿Qué opinas de que el matrimonio en realidad, para nosotros los hispanos, la iglesia lo mueve como el que dice, oye, pues yo no sé si mi hijo nació homosexual o no homosexual? Dice, cuando nace el niño, no lo sabes, lo presenta y dice, es niña, es niño, no se hace, ¿entiendes?
It's true, as a Hispanic community, as you know, the church plays a huge role in a marriage, and so to them, it's like when their child is born, it's either a boy or a girl, and we announce it proudly. So that, I'm glad that you shared your views on it and are respectful about it, and we understand your position.
Well, you didn't even ask that question. You just talked about the grown-ups getting married, and that's over age 18. No,
Yeah.
the boy, you can see it's a boy or a girl when it's born.
It's
But
like
it's a bit
saying
more.
something.
It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I think we all know of people who are very confused and very unhappy, and oftentimes statistically far more suicidal. And even if they're not suicidal, they're not happy with themselves or their life. And these are people who are born a boy and they want to be a girl, or born a girl and want to be a boy. There's some research that says there's a small x, large X chromosome situation where small X chromosome boys tend to be more effeminate and more like a girl. These are very difficult questions, and I wouldn't begin to sit here and tell you I have all the easy answers for them. I think we should love everybody and respect everybody and treat everybody kindly. It's nice and good to be kind. We should be kind to everybody. That doesn't mean you have to agree to lifestyles and decisions, but we should be kind and respectful to everybody, and there's more to it than just the equipment you're born with as a boy or a girl.
Pero usted está dispuesto a apoyar a todos en general.
But
Usted
you-
recibe, usted quiere los votos de todas clases de personas. Usted va a ser un electo para el Congreso 42. Usted invita a toda la gente que vote por usted.
But you will represent all of your constituents regardless, and you are going to advocate for everyone. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good, very good. Ahí vamos aventajando. ¿Alguna otra preguntita tienes para él?
Let's
¿Cómo vamos de
see.
tiempo también? No importa el tiempo. ¿Cómo se siente el candidato?
How are you feeling, John? Are you good?
Oh,
you
I'm
need a
good.
little
That was a
break?
great question.
Can
over
you-
the,
can you take
from the
another few
Facebook feed.
questions?
Absolutely.
You
Okay,
ready?
well, let's go ahead. Go straight ahead.
Okay, let's see.
Vamos caminando adelante aquí a través de Facebook. Estamos platicando con el honorable John Briscoe, que anda corriendo para el Congreso 42 de los Estados Unidos. Bienvenido, caballero.
Yes, okay, so we want to know a little bit more about your public service, especially in the educational world. What have you, or policies have you supported in your role as a trustee that has impacted our students specifically?
Well, I've been elected by the people 4 times to represent the community on the local school board. We've done incredible, big, great things in the school district where I'm elected for 16 years. Our biggest project was the Rainbow Republic trash dump disaster. We have a small school in my district. It's the most densely populated land in the county of Orange. There's no place in Orange County, including Santa Ana, with more people per square foot than the Oakview community. We built a school there. 7 years later, the city allowed a dump, a filthy, dirty, stinking dump to be built across the street from it. And it grew. And the dump grew and took in more and more garbage. It was terrible. The kids in our school, it was so bad when it was hot, you couldn't even go outside because it stunk so bad. The rats and mice came across the street from the dump onto my school site. And the worst was the seagulls would swoop in on the open processing. Trucks would come in and dump human feces from baby diapers and dog feces from picked up bags on the street. And the seagulls would swoop in and pick up food and go to my school roof and pick the bones clean. I called it fish bones and chicken pickings. And it was terrible. It was a mess. It was a stinking disaster. And the Republic Trash Dump refused to fix their problem. So we had to sue them, and sue we did. 3 years of lawsuits. I spent many days testifying at the Air Quality Management District. The dump was cited repeatedly for their filthy, squalid, nasty, stinking mess that they provided next to my school. And we won. We settled. And they put their dump under containment with buildings all around, the open processing, no more. They gave my school district $4 million to build a nice gymnasium at the elementary school so the kids could be inside out of the stink while they enclosed their nasty dump. And they paid our lawyers $2 million, and they were worth every penny of it. Cost Republic Trash Dump approximately $30 million, and we fixed the stinking, nasty trash problem. That was the big win. I've also had several other small wins. A project I'm working on now is called the Tall Tree Leafy Green Canopy Project. Trees provide shade, they provide carbon absorption, and I'm working to have giant 5-story trees planted around all the perimeters of our school sites. They won't start out at 5 stories, they'll start out small, but grow tall to clean up our air and to provide a beautiful green backdrop for our students to play on the playing fields with. My school district has worked on several projects. I'm a trustee, I'm one of 5 people. I don't tell anybody what to do. Nobody reports to me. I work as a board group, so nothing happens unless the board that I'm elected to decides to go do something. So our board, and I'm proud to say with my leadership, has launched several initiatives. The other one I'm proud of is called our Writing Continuum. Being able to write and communicate well is so very important to children, to all of us. And we have a program from kindergarten through 8th grade. And it's the same approach every year. We don't switch every year for the flavor of the month for what a teacher saw at a seminar. It's the same approach. It's very simple. The child writes, what's the thesis? What's the point of what I'm writing about? Tell the reader where they're going. Give 3 arguments to support the project, and then have a conclusion. So many school districts, if not most, are so giddy with excitement. The child wrote something. Whatever garbage poured out of their mind on the paper, we're happy they wrote something, is not good enough in my school district. In my school district, you have to tell the people what you're going to say it with arguments, 3 of them, to support what you're saying, and finally write a conclusion that tells the reader why you wrote what you wrote. We also teach cursive writing in 3rd grade. It's state law. Dear listeners and viewers, many school districts have stopped teaching cursive and made it optional. The law in California state standard says that cursive writing must be taught in 3rd grade to proficiency all year long, not just one day for a half day of practice. And we do that in this district. And my children know how to write in cursive. We teach the children how to type in 5th grade, and we teach them how to take in-class oral lecture notes in 6th grade. So we do a lot. I'm very proud of those things.
Una preguntita más a través de Facebook. Yo me he dado cuenta por concepto propio que cuando voy manejando, en donde hay un lugar que venden marihuana, es donde hay mucha gente perdida. Yo pregunto, ¿cómo es que hicieron esta cochinada legal? Porque lo que hace es quemar el cerebro de la gente, los pone a dormir, los hace tontos, no les gusta ir a trabajar. ¿Podrías hacer algo para que esos lugares donde venden marihuana se mudaran a otro lugar, otra área, no cerca de la vecindad donde están los muchachos, o cerca de la casa donde vives?
A question is, I noticed that when I'm driving around our city, there are some different sections that have weed dispensaries, and I've noticed that they are very close to our neighborhoods, our students. Could we do something to maybe restrict where they're located so that it doesn't impact our community in the way that it is? It's my understanding of what I can tell is you include a lot of young people that are just standing around, they're not going to work, it's impacting our community. So what could we do? And is there anything we could do to change where they're located and restrictions so that our community maybe doesn't have that much of an impact through it?
Oh, marijuana is a big problem. And the research recently has told us that marijuana has an even bigger impact on the development of young brains. That's the place where we think and live and go. So having children smoke marijuana is a huge problem, and it's illegal, and it's bad, and it's wrong. The male brain doesn't even mature until age 25. I don't know if you knew that in Facebook viewing land. You know, they've done research. The average boy doesn't turn into a man, fully grown and mature emotionally, until age 25. And marijuana gets in the way of that. And marijuana dispensaries near schools is a bad idea. Marijuana given to young middle school kids from the older brother who got it from a cousin is a bad idea. A good idea is to keep marijuana on the schedule of drugs on the federal level that is prohibited. There's a movement afoot in some parties and circles that marijuana should be made, taken off schedule, whatever it is, and made just like, I don't know, cigarettes or something. But I disagree with that. A marijuana cigarette is not the same as a tobacco cigarette. And the marijuana, THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, the stuff that makes marijuana, in a vaping device is not the same as a nicotine. So no, these are bad ideas, and I'm against it.
So you would support to make weed illegal again?
Weed is illegal at the federal level.
But
And
not
I don't mean to be detailed, but Congress operates at the federal level, and there's some move to make weed not illegal at the federal level, and I'm saying no, keep it illegal at the federal level. What states do is beyond the control of Congress. It is illegal. There's nothing more Congress can do than make marijuana illegal. They don't get banking services, the dispensaries. There's all kinds of problems where the stuff comes from, with their pesticide-loaded mountainside growing areas. And unfortunately, those are state problems, and this state does a very poor job managing that. Cities do a very poor job locating marijuana dispensaries.
Lo que miro yo es que hay muchos políticos que llegan al poder y nomás aprueban leyes a lo loco, ¿entiendes? O sea que yo quiero que Jan Briscoe sea uno de los nosotros, como dice, uno de los nuestros, que nos apoye a tratar de eliminar todo lo que sea dañino para la juventud, que represente a los niños, a los jóvenes, que la gente que hace crimen, que le facilita una droga a un niño, sabiendo que le hace daño y todavía lo hace, esa gente tiene que pagar un crimen, o sea, hay que llevarse a cárcel, pero ahorita no están haciendo nada de eso. Yo quiero que ya le explique a la gente que él es uno de los nuestros y que él va a hacer lo posible para enforzar las leyes que ya están aquí. No necesitan leyes nuevas, solamente enforzarlas.
You know, we want to know that you will represent our community not only by just becoming a congressman and then walking away from that, knowing that you are now being elected and continue to rubber stamp laws and implement laws that affect our community, especially our young youth. So we want you to assure us that if you are elected to represent us, that you will do everything you can to not necessarily create new laws, because there are some really good laws in the books already, but really enforce them and implement them to ensure that we can do everything we can to protect our youth, our students from harmful drugs and things that in our community that are impacting especially the Hispanic community.
Bravo, bravo.
The enforcement of the laws that we have is a big deal. We talked about the failure to enforce laws against stealing and that stupid new $900 law. There's other laws that we don't enforce that could go a long way to fixing problems that we have. It is illegal to be under the influence on public property. That's on a street, an alley, a curb, a parkway, a sidewalk. In fact, it's against the law to drink a beer on your own front porch. Yes, that's the law. A policeman could come up and give you a citation for drinking a beer on your own front porch. Do I want people arrested for drinking a beer on their own front porch? No, but I think people who are laying on the sidewalk, the two old English 800 cans next to them passed out, those people, that's an example of enforcement of an existing current law. And what would Congress have to do with that? Well, the police department would have to have direction to go enforce. That would be a field sobriety test for THC, the marijuana stuff, or for alcohol if they're under the influence. And by the way, under the influence isn't drunk, isn't staggering around. It's just under the influence. It's a fairly low threshold. We can't have these people sleeping on our sidewalks and our parks with needles and beer cans around them. They go to court. We need more money for courts. The government can provide money for additional policing, for enforcing intoxication laws, can provide the federal government more money for courts so we can give a speedy trial. On the spot, imagine this. The homeless person laying passed out in the park is in front of a judge the same day, not with a ticket, but brought into court in front of a judge because Congress, I'm your congressman, I passed a law that gave money to pay for that judge. And the judge says to the person, were you drunk? Yes. Were you under the influence? Yes. Were you intoxicated? Yes. And the judge says that'll be a $300 fine, please pay the bailiff. And the man says, I'm sorry, if I had $300, I wouldn't be homeless. Don't laugh, but it's what would be said. And so then the judge says, well, you'll go into the jail for 30 days or you can go to rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. 60% of homeless people are substance use abusers or they're mentally ill. And sometimes many of them are both. They're two men in one. So we go into rehab and we treat for mental illness. And then the third area, so there's three areas of money. One is for police power to work on homeless people under the influence and violation of the law. Two, enough judges to see these people. And then three, a lot of those people are mentally harmful to themselves and certainly to society. And they should be put into a facility where they can be cared for and not harm themselves and not harm their neighborhoods and society. That would mean reopening the Norwalk facility, reopening the Costa Mesa Fairview facility as a place for people who have mental problems to stay. Or they come out and they go back into society and don't continue their behavior.
Pues yo después de esta charla quiero que sepas que me gusta Jan Briscoe para que gane. Ojalá que nuestra gente y la gente que nos está escuchando ahorita a través de Facebook y de Radio La Mexicanísima cambie un poco su mentalidad. Después de hablar ya con él, ya me doy cuenta que este señor sí es una persona seria, es una persona con familia, con hijos, representa el núcleo familiar para nosotros. A mi ver, este señor sí nos va a representar de la manera correcta en el Congreso 42. Me gustaría que después que ya le traduzcas esto a él, que ya él dé un mensaje para cerrar el programa.
Claro que sí.
Que ya le diga exactamente sus razones y motivos por qué corre, porque no quiere echarse el paquete de dinero a la bolsa, pero quiere compartirlo con nosotros.
So after listening to you, I really do feel that you do represent our community, that you will represent the Hispanic values, that represents the core nuclear family values to us. We believe, after speaking to you, that you really do care about us, and that you're not just running to have power or to make it about yourself, but it really is because you want to bring change that will impact our communities. And so before we close, we want you to do a closing statement for us and telling us why you believe you are the right choice for the 42nd District, and tell our listeners why you would like to be elected and how you will impact them if they do get out there and vote for you, John Briscoe.
Well, I hope it's not an if. I hope and pray they do show up and they do vote, and that they vote for John Briscoe for U.S. Congress. I grew up in Long Beach at the bottom end of the district. I own property in Long Beach. My business is in Long Beach. I went to school in Long Beach, Jefferson Junior High, Wilson High School, Cal State Long Beach. I like the district. I'm from the district. I'm of the district. My mother and father both lived there until they died. My mom died in December of this year. I represent the aspirations, the dreams of the community. Neither of my parents went to college. That's the case with most of my families in this district. The parents didn't go to college, but their children with good schooling have a chance to go to college. They can go to community college, they can go on to a 4-year school. Dreams that their parents never had any chance for. I represent that. I've lived that dream, I live it now. And I will represent and work to make sure every child has the opportunity to grow and go in life. And not just college, because only about 1/3 of kids go to college. To teach our children how to balance their checkbook, how to fix things in their house, how to borrow money, how not to go bankrupt, how not to go broke, how to run their family, how to keep their house clean, how to teach their children. So these are things, and I'm the education candidate, in case you didn't notice. I focus on children, the family's responsibility and right to raise their children, and that's what I work on. So inflation is a congressional spending too much money problem and can be directly handled by Congress. Parent choice, parent rights are something that we can help encourage from Congress with programs, and then family safety is paramount. We can't have the crime that we have now and growing. We must stop it, and I will work to stop it. And homelessness is part of that family safety. You can't have your kids walking down the street home from school past derelicts and people laying in the alley in the gutter. It's not healthy for the person laying on the sidewalk, and it's not healthy for your kids. So I will work for family safety and help fix the homeless problem that we have. I represent the district, all the voters, all the residents. And I would request that you please vote for John Briscoe for Congress, John Briscoe for U.S. Congress when you go to the voting booth.
Muy bien, Jan, muy bien. Muchas gracias por haber venido aquí a Radio La Mexicanísima. Gracias a la señorita también que me estuvo aquí ayudando traduciendo. Espero que toda la gente, como ella hace ratito, se concentre y haga un poquito de conciencia y vote por ti porque tú eres la persona correcta y tú eres uno de los nuestros.
Yes. John, do you want to tell the people anything else to get out there and vote for you?
Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. I'm honored and privileged that you heard this. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to call. But in 8 days or 9, whatever it is, 11 days, get out and vote. Vote for whoever you want, but for sure, vote for John Briscoe.